All right. Good morning, everybody, or good evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. I'm Bob Weathers here in Southern California with your Vitality Project, and I am delighted to host my dear friend Nadja Lindt from Germany. Although I think you hail from Berlin, I think you might have told me that you're in the Black Forest right now. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. Yes.
So nice to have you with us, Nadja. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. We met a couple of years ago at our mutual friends, John and Pam Dupuis's home in southern Utah, and it's been your work creating music tracks for John and Pam's iAwake Technologies is the technical name, and they create meditation tracks. Nadja's musical background is immense, and just one of the applications has been to what she's done with iAwake. She is, I know from our conversations, Nadja, that you are active musically in many domains, not the least of which is DJing, fantastic dance music, etc., with electronica. And I'm very interested to talk to you about all of that. Just for everyone to know, Nadja is my guest this morning here at Your Vitality Project, and our topic is as broad as I could imagine. So the title for our presentation is Music, Meditation, both of which Nadja exemplifies and that we both highly value, and tying it into health and well-being and recovery. Nadja, here at Your Vitality Project, we look at recovery from addictions of every kind, and we actually talk about addiction as enslavement, which is really its root understanding in Latin. So I could be enslaved to alcohol or some other drug. I could be enslaved to some behavior that's creating problems in my life. I could even be enslaved to an attitude. So we've really thrown the net broadly here to include most everything under the rubric of addiction. So when we talk about recovery, we're really talking about living a healthy, wholesome life of well-being and really thriving. So in that spirit, let me invite you, Nadja, to just maybe update me and update us on what you're doing these days, a little bit about you, and then just let's you and I dialogue for a few minutes, okay?
Yes, thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
I'm mainly involved in my music labels. The one is Lucidflow. It's an electronic music label where I distribute deep techno and deep sound.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped traveling so much. Kind of. I mean, last year I was still traveling, but I stopped trotting so much, and started focusing on meditation music and like the kind I do for iAwake, and that's, and also creating and producing my own music. That's what I'm focusing on. And,
Nadja, tell me the name of your label, and I want to write it in here so that people can follow up. Is it? Did you say Lucid? Say it again.
It's Lucidflow, but just in one word.
Lucidflow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is Nadja's label. I'm going to write it here, and you take a look at this. If it shows up on your, I want to make sure I spelled it correctly.
Yeah.
Lucidflow.
It's. I can't see the chat somehow.
Okay. If it doesn't show up in the comment section, I'll tell you.
Okay, now here we go. Yeah, Lucidflow.
Is that Indonea fun? Okay, that's good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that you travel, and I assume that you, at least previously, that you travel as a function of your DJ work. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we may have participants or listeners today that have actually heard or seen you live, and I hope that they have. Are there YouTube videos that we could recommend individuals to follow?
I have a channel, a label channel, and also a channel of my main project. It's my main live project, 𝗘𝘅𝘁𝗍. Maybe I type it myself. If I
can. Why don't you type? Thank you.
I don't know where.
If you're in the comments section at the very bottom, there might be a place for you that says post a comment, And if not, I can maybe help. I'd
Yeah,
like to.
no, there's no pause to comment. Okay, but it's 𝗘𝘅𝘁𝗍. It's a German word. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But,
Okay. Is it one word? Is it one word?
Yeah. Yes. It's
Okay.
one word.
Okay. Let's try this. Did I get it right? 𝗘𝘅𝘁𝗁.
Yes. Perfect.
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Nur ein bisschen. 𝗘𝘅𝘁𝗁. And it translates, as I assume, well, you want to say, is it lucid dreaming? Would it translate to English, or clear dreaming?
Yeah, lucid dreaming.
𝗘𝘅𝘁𝗁.
It's a dream where you are aware that you're dreaming. Yeah, that's my main music live project together with a friend, and yeah, you can find many videos there. And many mixes all over the internet. I mean, I've been mixing so much.
My partner Jason has posted your YouTube link. It looks like Lucidflow Berlin. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you. I would love everybody to pursue that. Yeah. You know, when you and I met, Nadja, 2 summers ago in Utah at John and Pam's, our connection was immediate because of my deep love for music. As you know, I'm a lifelong drummer, and although the music idiom in which I've been most immersed for most of my adulthood is jazz, I do have a love for EDM and for and also as well as for the meditation tracks that you've created, and meditation specifically. I wonder if you might tie in your the part of your music, maybe all of your music, as it relates to your own meditation practice. I'd be very interested to hear anything you have to say about that.
Yes, I started producing or becoming interested or getting interested in meditation music like 10 years ago, I think, when I was traveling a lot, and I had intense sleeping problems and stress and anxiety, because it's, I mean, it looks like fun, and it is big fun standing in front of a crowd and playing music, but it also can create a lot of anxiety, and I'm a very anxious and also addicted person, and I think addiction has a lot to do with not being able to handle emotions very well, especially if it comes to anxiety and not feeling worthy and whatever it is. I mean, we all have the issues. So I had enormous problems dealing with that. And so I started digging into this, like maybe you know Monroe Institute. He was the first guy.
Who was it?
Monroe Institute.
Okay. Tell me more. Tell us more.
Who invented this hemisync, and I started from there digging into the stuff. I started looking into the binaural beats and how it works, how the brain works. I've always been interested in how the brain functions, because my brain was so messed up. So I had to kind of dig into, like the manual. How does this work to make it work for me?
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. So it came from your own experience. I'll tell you what I wrote down. I'm going to put it up here as you were talking, Nadja, and you and I spoke at least indirectly of this in is that I think both of us are HSPs, or the highly sensitive person, and it makes the good news, and I know you enough to know, is you're extraordinarily sensitive to aesthetics, to beauty, as well as to emotions, and it makes you such a lovely human being. The downside to that is that it makes us highly sensitive and easily overwhelmed, overstimulated. You mentioned insomnia. Just as a quick aside, I lead groups, Nadja, as you probably remember, in treatment centers with individuals in early recovery from addiction. And I'll introduce them to this idea of the highly sensitive person, and it represents about 20% of the population. across countries. It's cross-cultural. So about 20% of people fit the category of highly sensitive. There's actually questionnaires and interviews that will yield that information. It's equally distributed between men and women. At least here in the US, it's oftentimes seen as women are highly sensitive, more so than men. It's not true. It's actually across both genders. Having said that, I'll present this information in treatment centers where I work, and I'll ask informally, how many of you relate to what I've just shared? And I'll ask for a show of hands. And Naja, it's 80% of people.
Yes.
80% of people will raise their hands. And so you and I represent that group. As you know my own background in addiction. I know some of yours. It makes us incredibly vulnerable to self-medicating just to try to manage the flood of emotions, of sensations, of all that coming in. So I thought of that when you talked about the connection for you of anxiety. You better believe it makes us anxious because it's so stimulating.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I thought it must be like 80 or even higher percentage, because it's
it might be. Yeah. There's a doctoral student who was one of my supervisees who's planning to do her dissertation on this topic. And if she does it, as far as I know, it will be the first study of what percentage of people who are severely addicted and in treatment represent this population. It might well be more than 80%. You don't know. But it's extremely high. It's really, really telling. Yeah.
And it was really kind of a relief when I found out about this, because it took away a big layer of shame of not feeling functioning in this society and world. And when I found out, okay, I might be highly perception or highly sensitive, it took a lot of pressure from me.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I had to deal with it, of course.
Yes. Yeah. I love how you got creative yourself in terms of researching, like you said, binaural beats and meditation. Tell us how that developed for you and how that's worked for you over the years. I know you produce. In fact, I have to tell you. In fact, I'm going to make an ad for you right now. I listen every day to your binaural beats and to your music on iAwake. The latest release, I listened to it this morning in my quiet time, Heaven and Earth. I highly recommend. In fact, let me write down. Let's see here. I'm going to write down iAwake Technologies, and I'm going to put Heaven and Earth. And I'm going to put Naja Lind. There we go. Heaven and Earth, Refuge before that, Joy, B, all of these. Yeah, they're just, yeah.
Profound meditation with a purring of the cat. And yes, I'm experimenting with a lot of different sounds and elements, and also the EMDR, binaural T, or how would you call that in English? I don't know. Yes, and I'm very interested in, especially in theta brainwave states, because what I learned, theta is the door to your unconscious, and the reason why we are so messed up or hypersensitive or whatever, or being people is we are being programmed in theta from the age from 0 to 7. We are in a brain wave state of theta where everything is just programmed into you. You're just downloading the information, and then it closes kind of, and that's where you can reprogram your unconscious programs. So I'm very interested in theta.
I want to share something with you, Naja. It just came to me this morning, and I wonder if it will trigger similar stories for you. I'm working right now. You may know him, or at least know of him through John Dupuis. Guy Duplessis is a close associate of John. Guy's written with John several books on integral recovery, and Guy and I right now are working together on a revised update of a book. It's a workbook for addiction recovery. And we were corresponding this morning. Guy lives in Cape Town. You live usually in Berlin, and I live here in Newport Beach in Southern California. So we live all over the world. And what we're doing is we're looking at what we call resilience. This is actually what Guy calls resilience skills training, where you develop skills to be resilient. I'll tell you what I was thinking this morning, just an hour ago, Naja, is that when I was a young boy, I was in high school. And I remember I lost a very painful tennis match. I played competitive tennis, and our tennis team was a championship team. And I lost a match. And I came home, and I remember my mom comforted me. And I've never forgotten it, because it was one of those extraordinary moments where a parent actually shows up emotionally for a child. And I remember the next day, my mom saying to her, or in the next few days, mom saying to me, Bobby, she called me Bobby. She says, Bobby, you are so resilient. Well, I'm not even sure I know what that word meant at the time. But I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, what was mom picking up on? And this ties into what you just said about binaural beats and even EMDR. What I was thinking about, Naja, as a very sensitive boy, I used to spend a lot of time climbing in trees. I'd climb up in a tree, and this is before there was any word for meditation, but I would spend hours up in a tree just quietly, up in the branches of a tree with the wind blowing through, or lying down in a field of tall grass and just looking up in the sky. But the thing that was probably the most significant for me, and it ties into our mutual love for music, is I started drumming when I was 9 years old. And when I was first introduced to EMDR, which is a technique for managing post-traumatic stress disorder, among other things, whether it's sounds or visuals back and forth, think about it with drumming: right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
Yeah.
And I've done that I've drummed my whole life. I've drummed for tens of thousands of hours. And I wonder if what mom was picking up on, it's the first time I've ever thought of this, is little Bobby might have been resilient because he just kind of stumbled upon resources that helped support me with things like the loss of an important tennis match. There was a way to calm myself, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, self-soothing practice.
Yeah. I feel very fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, when I was a child, it was just looking at a cat and being next to a cat, because they are so relaxed and soothing in itself. And and also my connection to music has always been very strong. So singing in choirs. I was always singing when I was a child. I just lost it when I got so addicted and rebellious and so on. But I found it when I got out of the worst addiction. I reconnected with music again. And this was one of the most important things, because I think for me, I can only talk for myself, finding my passion was the most important part in my life and in my recovery, because it made me feel like everything is falling into place, everything is worth it, struggling or going through or digging, because I had a direction. And before, I was without any kind of direction. I was just going from left to right to all over the place, and that was very important. And I'm very, very grateful for it.
Yeah. You bring to mind something. By the way, Naja, I totally relate to you on this. Is about 40 years ago, in fact, it was exactly 40 years ago, it was the summer of 1980. I had just finished my first year in graduate school, and I read this book. You might be well familiar with it. Viktor Frankl. I read his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is how it's translated into English. And in that book, Viktor Frankl, he cites the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. And the specific quote that really marked me, and it relates directly to what you just said right now. Nietzsche said, and Frankl quotes Friedrich Nietzsche, he said, "He who has a why to live for can deal with virtually any how." And Viktor Frankl expands on that. And what he believes that Nietzsche was saying was that if you have a reason, like you said, a passion, something, like a fire in your belly is the term we use here in English. If you have a fire in your belly, if you have a passion, if you have a why for your life, then the specifics of what you need to do, that would be what Nietzsche called the how. they'll take care of themselves. Whereas if you don't have a why, then there's no amount of hows that will ever get you there. I think of this oftentimes in recovery when I'm working with individuals. They've got to do what you did, and I felt like that I was blessed this way too. They have to come up with a reason for recovery if they're going to succeed. It won't do just to go through the motions.
Yes, yeah. And what also helped me tremendously was workouts. I mean, that's really as important as music, I would say, for myself. And I know for many of addicted personalities that working out and having a schedule. Do you say schedule or schedule?
Yes.
Of the English and American.
You're doing beautifully.
English.
You're doing beautifully. Thank you. Yeah.
So it's also very, it helped me so much to have a certain time where I just go to the gym or jogging or whatever you do. Nowadays I switched to yoga. Just something where you can kick yourself and do it, and you feel so much better afterwards. Because if you are addicted, your brain becomes wrongly connected or wired, so you have to kind of build something around it. So it takes some effort and time and lots of love to do that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's one of my favorite books is written by a woman who writes she's the science editor for the U.S. magazine Newsweek. Her name is Sharon Begley. She wrote a book. In fact, the foreword to the book was written by the Dalai Lama. So you've done well when you have the Dalai Lama write the foreword to your book. Anyway, the title of her book says it all, and it reminds me of what you just said, Naja. The title of her book is Train Your Mind. Think of like routines, like what you're talking about. Train your mind, and let's say your body. Train your mind, change your brain. So the good news is that you and I, though we've both been severely addicted, is that if we retrain our minds and retrain our bodies with the kinds of routines, scheduling in self-care around exercise, around good diet, around sleep, around spiritual practice, we can go down the list. If we retrain our minds and bodies, we can actually change our brain from those old patterns, which were not helpful in an active addiction, to something that really represents a new Naja and a new Bob. That's the hope here. It seems like to me.
That's key. Yes.
Yeah. I just led a group yesterday with it was here local, but it was all online, and there was a young man in the group, and we were talking about what I asked each individual to think of what's one insight that you've gotten early in recovery, in treatment. And he said he used the exact same words you use. He says, Bob, what I've realized is I need to develop healthful routines in my life. And he mentioned specifically his diet, making sure that he eats well, because he says he's really drawn to sweets and junk food and so on. But he says developing discipline around that so that it's routine. And the second thing is exercise. He says, when I exercise and when I eat well, I feel like it supports my body and brain towards sobriety. And when I don't, it's a slippery slope right back towards addiction. So,
yes. And it's also very important, I think, to stay away from mainstream news as much as possible, because they create a lot of unnecessary anxiety, and especially nowadays, I would say.
Yeah.
And I can actually feel that. I've been staying away from all kind of media for years now, and every time I kind of, because I have to look something up or be informed because I'm traveling, and I switch it on and I research a little bit. It just pulls me down in a black hole, and I can feel it in my body actually. So I have to really meditate myself out and lift myself out of that hole.
It's
very, very powerful.
Yes. You know what, you remind me. I'm sorry, go ahead, please, go ahead. Yeah.
We don't really feel it because it's so usual. I mean, everybody, it's there all the time. You're surrounded, you're floating in it, and you don't really feel it.
Yeah. You remind me of a conversation I had just last night with a dear friend of mine. She's a friend that I met through the Journey to Integral Recovery with John Dupuy and Doug Prater. And she's become a close friend, and we work together also in your Vitality Project. Her name is Angela McLeod. You guys may have had interaction through iAwake. Angela worked with John. So yeah, Angela. So you know Angela. That's small world. Angela has developed a lot of expertise in nervous system regulation. And you know what, Naja? If Angela was here right now with us, she would totally give you a high five. She really limits her exposure to news and other media for the same reason that you just said. And she ties it into how we need to regulate our nervous systems. In other words, manage stress is that we have to be very careful of what we take in. And if you take it in very small dosages, because it can literally be overwhelming to our nervous systems. Yeah.
And we have to have an antidote for it. If we decide to take something in because we have to, or we think we have to have an antidote, like talking to friends, doing something joyful, or meditating, or working out, or something to level it out of the system again, because it's dragging it down.
Yeah. You know, something I've learned from Guy du Plessis. In fact, let me write his name there too. These are dear friends of ours. Guy du Plessis in South Africa. In fact, we have one of Guy's and my mutual friends. I'm so happy to see you. Lee Durant. She goes by 𝗂𝗅𝗏. Lee Durant is with us. And she's also from South Africa. Wonderful to see you, Kara. I'm really happy that you're here. Guy, one of the things that I've learned with Guy, Naja, is what he's written about and what he and I are working on right now. He calls it mind-body bridging. And that you talked about antidotes. I've tried an experiment even this week in groups that I lead here, is I'll ask people to think of something stressful in their lives. And so they'll think of some event that's come up that's stressful. It could be even reading the news, that's for sure. And so they'll write that down, and I'll have them write out what are the thoughts that come around this stressful event, like maybe 6 thoughts that arise. And then I'll ask them to think of how do you feel in your body when you think of this in terms of stress. What does it lead you to want to do? Those kinds of things. And then what we'll do, and this ties right into our conversation today, Naja, around meditation and music. We'll just do a 2-minute mindfulness exercise. And it's very simple, just mindfulness of the breath. And I'll have them go back and review what they just wrote down as being stressful, literally in 2 minutes, Naja. Talk about antidotes. People will talk about going from a 7 or an 8 in terms of stress. On a scale of 1 to 10. They'll go down. Yesterday I did a group, somebody went down to a 2. With 2 minutes of meditation, it's pretty amazing. If we use these antidotes, whether it's reaching out to a friend or just spending some time centering ourselves, we can actually really have a different experience of our life, of our day. Yeah.
And a very good antidote for myself is if I'm stuck in a mind loop or in a negative thinking, and I can grasp it, because sometimes I know you can't grasp it because you're into it too.
Yes, yeah.
But if I can catch myself thinking in a negative way, I just ask myself, do I really want to think that thoughts?
Yeah.
And it already changes the way I can think, because I have choice. I don't have to think in loops all the time. You can stop yourself and you can ask yourself, do I really want to think that thought? And then I slowly can change the way of my thinking. And
it's beautiful. Go ahead.
Really amazing tool, I know for you as well, because we did your awesome meditation in Utah. It's Ho'oponopono. It's just, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. This is the most amazing tool ever. I mean, this is really amazing. You can't go wrong on this. I mean, just try it out, just do it. Don't ask, just do it. Try it all the time. Before you start thinking something negative that drags you down somewhere, just start saying these little sentences to yourself.
You know what I'm going to do? You've reminded me of it. Uh, let's see. I'm going to write down a meditation that is available also through iAwake Technologies. And it's related to what you and I did there together. I love your meditation. I'm writing it right here. Doug Crater, who you know, Doug and I did a meditation CD, The Freedom of Forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it really, as I told you in Utah, and as I continue to experience it, I practice it almost every day. It's less than 5 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
But just doing that meditation that you just shared for 5 minutes a day to kind of clear things out, it really is an antidote to resentment. It's an antidote to guilt and shame.
Yeah.
It's a way to reconnect with myself. It's a way for me to reconnect with you, with people I care about in my lives. It's so simple to practice, and it's not doing it just once. It's just working it in, like you said earlier, Naja, working it into a daily schedule, into a daily routine, to where it just becomes how you breathe. You know, it's natural. Yeah.
I've been practicing Ho'oponopono for years now, and it changed my life.
Yeah.
Completely turned around my life. I'm so grateful I found this.
Yeah. I wonder, Naja, let me ask you a question. We'll wind down in a couple minutes here, but I want to ask you a question. I've been practicing this forgiveness practice for about, I guess it's 8 or 9 years now, and it's almost every morning. I occasionally miss a morning, but it's almost every morning. And what's happened to me in the last year, I think in the last year or so, is I started working on forgiving different parts of myself. It sounds odd, but I'll actually dialogue between parts of myself. So there's asking you for forgiveness, or asking other people for forgiveness, and granting forgiveness. And then it's taking it inside. I found that incredibly useful. In fact, it's more of what I do right now than not. Honestly, if I inadvertently hurt somebody, I'll work on that day. I mean, I work on it every day. But most often what I work on is just different parts of myself. And it came up for me as I was listening to you right now. It's like reclaiming in a loving way a relationship to all the parts of ourselves. Does that register for you? I'm curious if you've kind of something like that yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. The Ho'oponopono approach is I'm taking 100% responsibility for everything I'm experiencing. So the Ho'oponopono is like, what is going on in me that I'm experiencing whatever. And then you start cleaning. It's the cleaning process is saying the sentences, and the forgiveness. It's always you're always working within yourself only. You're not working for anybody or towards anything. Also, you just stay within yourself, and you just continuously clean and things will happen. You'll see.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I want you to do me a favor, Naja. Can you spell this meditation slowly, and I'll write it down here. I want to direct people to it. How would you spell it?
The Ho'oponopono.
Yeah. How do you spell it?
H-O, and then there's an apostrophe because it's Hawaiian.
Yeah. Okay.
H-O, O-P-O. I have to write it down myself because it's no. Okay. H-O.
Okay.
H-O-O-P-O-N-O.
Opono.
I think and another pono in the end. But you will find it if you just type in practice Hawaiian practice of forgiveness, and you see this word coming up.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now. This is
maybe there's
here it is right now.
Maybe there's a little too much pono in the end. I'm not sure right now, but
no, then Ho'oponopono is right, and I've actually I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm taking the first link I found online, if it'll allow me to write this in there. It's at the Ho'oponopono. I misspelled it, you guys. Here's the correct spelling. It's Ho'oponopono, and it's at this site. And if you do a search, for example, on Google, it'll bring up a ton of information. Thank you.
The guy I really like is this guy, Dr. Yulen.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm writing his name down right now for that meditation, for above meditation. Okay, that's great. I wrote it down. Thank you. Thank you. So many resources, Nadja. Nadja, I've loved being with you this morning. I know it's your evening. Thank you for waiting up so late in the Black Forest. And I'd love to invite you back again. I'd love to stay in contact with you. It's just wonderful to see you. Your energy is such a beautiful thing to me.
I could talk to you for hours because you're an amazing human being and full of sunshine and love. I mean, that was the first thing I came into this room in Utah. I was like, wow, the sun is shining from across the room, and seeing you playing your it was like, wow.
Thank you. You're so sweet. It's actually absolutely the same for me with you. It's like kindred souls on different parts of the planet. Okay. I send much love to you, and I really wish you safety and well-being. Yeah, big kiss to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Nadja. Take good care. We'll see you again soon, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye, Nadja. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.